Hello. It's 8:08 on a Monday. Do you know where your children are? If they're good children, then they're listening to the Say Report with your hosts Devon Decker and Sejan Sarowick. And welcome to the Say Report.
That might be the creepiest opening we've had yet. I like that.
Good. I didn't know. I feel like I'm like this could go either way. He could
No,
say
it
that
went
could be
creepy.
the creepiest opening we've ever had, and I hate it. Or that could be the creepiest opening. I love it.
Oh, no, good. Okay, I was worried you thought it wasn't creepy for a second, and I was going to very much correct you. But
Oh, no, that
yeah,
was
okay.
super creepy.
Right, okay. Just cool. Yeah, so here we are, Say Report, creeping into your ears at 8 o'clock on Monday night. What's going on?
Creeping into your ears.
Well, you join us today on yet the third week of Brendan Fraser History Month.
Oh, it is Brendan Fraser History Month.
Yeah. Welcome everybody again as we celebrate this month. And just to report on that, we've decided that that there was so much love to go around that what we needed to do was actually record some separate segments. So what we're going to do is at the end of the show today, you'll get a good chunk of Brendan Fraser segment featuring me and Devon, and a surprise guest. Will be there. Our Welshman that does our final word every week will also be joining us to do a little celebrating. So listen up for that.
Yeah, it'll be exciting. And because this is going to be the last you hear about Brendan Fraser until that, the Brendan Fraser movie of the week is Blast from the Past, because I caught it yesterday on HBO twice.
Excellent.
On the East Coast and West Coast feeds. And that movie is perfection, just for bringing together Alicia Silverstone and Brendan Fraser.
Oh, and let's not forget Dave Foley as the gay best friend.
Oh,
like
Troy?
the most stereotypical gay best friend. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And Christopher Walken is there.
Christopher Walken with the hot Dr. Pepper. Yeah, the whole movie. Just go see the movie.
Go watch the movie. It's Brendan Fraser History Month, and that's why. But now, on to the episode proper.
Yes. Hello.
Oh,
so we were actually going to talk a little bit this week. You actually had mentioned that there was a few things you watched this weekend. You just mentioned Blast from the Past. What else did you catch this weekend?
In addition, this weekend was a great DVR cleanse for Mother's Day. My mother just wants to spend no time at all with her children, so they went away to the Berkshires, which gave me ample time to sit down and just watch everything that I have had on my DVR.
Your parents literally just ran off to the mountains. They were just like, we're done with this, and ran off into the woods.
We're going to the Berkshires. See you on Sunday. Maybe.
Excellent. All right, excellent. So, big TV to yourself, big old DVR to yourself. What did you do?
I finally watched Signs and The Happening. The Happening I have had on there since January when we started recording the Say Report. So,
not for like the first time, right?
No, I'd never seen those films before.
Oh, dear God. Okay, here we go.
So there's a lot to dive into.
Yeah.
And also, now I can officially say I've only missed 3 Shyamalan movies. So that's
okay.
I feel pretty good about that.
What are the 3 that you haven't seen yet? Just out of curiosity.
His first 2, that weird one, I can't think of their names. That one with Rosie O'Donnell that came out in '94, right before The Sixth Sense hit, and he became a sensation overnight.
Yeah.
And I've never seen Last Airbender. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm excited to see the first 2 now that I've seen all the middle ones. But
right, you're not missing any of the big ones anymore. Like, so, man. But The Happening is an important one, and Signs only more important as far as I'm concerned. Like The Happening is where everybody kind of started to realize that he had lost his mind. You know what I mean?
I'm talking to a plastic plant here. Yeah, I know what you mean.
when it's the trees. The trees. Oh my God! I just wanted to see him punch a tree that in the middle of that movie. Just start swatting at leaves.
Also, there's no 100% proof that it was the trees. I think that's the thing that I really like.
Oh no! Yeah, he tried to go full on Stephen King in that one. I feel like that's his most attempt at The Mist. The Happening. And so I feel like that is where he really that's why you notice it is as bad as it is because he is trying so hard to be somebody that he's not, he doesn't lean into his own shit in that movie, which is really unfortunate. Unlike Signs, oddly enough, that I think is full on M. Night Shyamalan doing what he wants to be doing. And that's why that movie works so well for me. I know there's some people out there that are really kind of down on Signs. There's a there's a big problem in that apparently with people with the fact that they actually show you the aliens. And there was a long time when people would be like, any alien movie where they show you the aliens just ends up sucking. And there's a lot of good proof for that. Cloverfield, 10 Cloverfield Lane from last year is actually a perfect example of that. I think that movie is a fantastic film until the last 10 minutes when they start showing you all of the alien shit.
Exactly.
And you're just like,
and that's all
right.
stuff that was added to tie it into Cloverfield. Because
Yeah,
that was originally just called The Cellar. And what an amazing film it would have been without
If you just
that,
drove
like,
off afterwards.
let's try to turn it into a franchise.
Yeah.
Like,
So like Signs gets a lot of flack for that sort of stuff. But what I've always thought about Signs is it's not really about the aliens anyway. So the fact that they show you the aliens has never bothered me because to me it's not about aliens. It's actually about God, right? Like that's like the big thing in that film.
well, it's also it's about fear and about faith. Like the aliens are just a manifestation and a representation of the unknown in a lot of ways. And I got to tell you, they're also not crazy. Like the glimpses you see of the aliens and Signs, I'm like, that's a pretty well-designed alien. Like it's vaguely humanoid. I can understand why its weakness is water. Like it all sort of makes sense to me.
Right, and at no point, filmmaking wise, at no point is there like a straight on shot with it like well lit. Like it's always kind of shadowy or lit from behind. Like there's this like, so even when you see them, there's still an element of the unknown to them, which I think is like really well done and all that sort of stuff too. But even like writing wise, the way that like Swing Away Maris is like one of those weird lines that has been in my head since I saw that movie as a kid. Like I always think that line. And it's just so good. Like that whole movie is, I don't know. So like comparing that, it's funny that you watch that and The Happening because I think that's like two ends of the spectrum for him. Because like
if I could do it again, I would have watched them in release order. I watched The Happening and then this and then Signs and then the Signs and then Signs, as opposed to going Signs to The Happening, because between the two, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, I was more interested in seeing The Happening than I was in seeing Signs. So I felt like Signs would let me down in a way that The Happening didn't. And honestly, I will be this is the truth. I really enjoyed The Happening, and if I were going to judge the two against each other, The Happening would eke out ahead by just a little bit.
Really?
Yeah.
I think The Happening is just unwatchable, man. Like really do. Like what is it that hooks you for it? Like is it just fun for you or do you actually like think there's like well done stuff in that film?
I understand. There's so much going on. Here it is. I got sucked into the world of The Happening in a way that I never got sucked into Signs. Like The Happening, right. They're like, this is what's happening. Hate myself for that. This is what's going on, and I'm like, I'm good. I understand. Like I understand the fear and they are a very odd double feature because both of them are about fear and both of them talk about sort of a post 9/11 America and the way that people react to it.
Whereas what's on that note though, The Happening seems to be much more about like the public in that sense, whereas Signs is very much more about like focused on a single man. So like I think that because you don't get a lot of the crowd stuff in Signs, like he very much isolates that family, right? Whereas in The Happening, the whole point is the opposite of isolation, is what happens when you've got too many people. Again, a la King is Shyamalan A la King. That's what I'm going to call The Happening from now on.
That's good. I like it, and I understand that. So we've already discussed how much you love Stephen King. So watching Shyamalan try to ape that sort of storytelling and that type of film, I understand why it would run counterproductive to it. But I really enjoyed it. Like I liked all these people together, and I liked the stakes. And I mean, just there's the one sequence that stands out is when they're in the park in Philadelphia, and the cop takes out his gun and shoots himself, and then the cabbie he was just talking to gets out of the cab, picks up the gun, and shoots himself. Like, it was such a cool sequence to me, and like it really just enforces the fact that like whatever is happening, people are killing themselves. And they are going to do it the quickest, swiftest way possible. And we live in this world that just allows it in such droves. Like one gun, like that gun could have killed 6 more people. And I would have been like, this is awesome. Like just watching how just the sheer destructive pattern of something as simple as a handgun.
Yeah, and I guess if he focused more on that sort of stuff, I would have been down more for that. I mean, the other thing is considering the way in which you watch them, right? And we talk about this all the time, is the way that you actually introduced to a movie affecting how you feel about it. Like for me, I saw them in theaters, right? So I was seeing them in release order with all of the zeitgeist around every film being what it was. So like I went into Signs after Sixth Sense and like being super excited, and after Unbreakable and being like super excited to see like the new Shyamalan thing, right? And Signs was did it for me. Whereas The Happening, I mean, like that's post Lady in the Water, right? Is that even post Airbender yet, or is that
No.
before
It's the
Airbender?
last one before Airbender. I'm
Yeah,
fairly
so
sure that
like
it's Village Lady Happening.
right. So Village is kind of where he started to really kind of a lot of people started to turn on him if you were to look into this sort of stuff, right? And then like Lady in the Water is that weird one where like there's a lot of people that just ended up refusing to see it, which I think is a crime because that
I
movie is
love
as
that
far as I'm
movie. I think
yeah, I
Lady
love
in
that
the
movie.
Water is
Right.
fantastic.
But by the time you get to The Happening, it got to the point where even I couldn't defend him anymore. You know what I mean? Like with Lady in the Water, I was happy to stand up and be like, no, I like that movie and here's reasons why. When I saw The Happening, people were like, this movie's shit, and I was just like, can't I can't argue with you. Like I don't have any, you know what I mean? Like I had just kind of gotten run out of steam on being a Shyamalan apologist at that point.
Again, I totally understand it. The problem with me was the reason I didn't see Signs is because I have real indie music syndrome. Like I will be the first person to stand up and say I know that this is a problem I have. Once something stops being small and special to me, I kind of retreat away from it until it can be small and special again.
Mm.
And really, that's how I felt after seeing The Visit last year. I'm like, Shyamalan's done, right? Like, it's nothing. And then I saw Split this year, and Split was amazing. Split was this film that hooked me again from the beginning and just took me for the ride. And I loved
Right.
every minute of it. And I totally saw the tie-in at the end coming, like, from the beginning, because after having watched only the films that I had watched, I was thinking, what if this takes place in a shared universe? What if every Shyamalan film exists within the same universe? And after watching Signs, that's really the only one that doesn't fit into the whole thing.
Oh
Even
no, not
with
at all.
everything,
Because aliens come up. It's
yeah,
like
exactly.
so
Even
right.
with everything
Yeah.
that happens in The Happening, like it's a day. And that's another thing. I'm a big fan of unity of time films, and the
Hmm.
fact that it is one day and how fucking bad things can get after a day like that. I'm really interested in thought exercises like that, but that could have totally occurred, and then it explains why like it's sort of not a super populated area anymore.
Right. Right.
So it still works like that, and I'm glad I went back and I'm glad I watched them. But Signs will always stand out. I had after it had come out, a friend was over at the house, and he was filling up glasses of water and just leaving them everywhere. No, I didn't see Signs. I didn't know what the fuck he was doing. And he's like, it's for when they come. Like he was being like a real jerk about it. He's being such a jerk. I'm not going to mention his name because I don't want to. I don't want to even like put it out there. And then like I'm like, you need to knock it off. You're wasting water. You're making a mess, and I'm going to need to clean up. Knock it off. And then it turned into a water fight with all these cups of water that he put around our house. So I can't watch the movie Signs without instantly being transported back to that occurrence in my life. So I will admit that like that kind of colored the film for me just a little bit.
Because he reenacted the ending of that film for you.
Yeah, and I'm just like, like thank God there was no baseball bat, but
Swing away. All right, man.
But talking about it, since we're talking about M. Night Shyamalan, another issue is I feel like I supplant my own ideas of what I want a film to be within a movie. Like
Yeah.
Split really could have gone wrong for me. Because from the beginning, I'm like, this is what I think is going to happen, and this would be a good movie to me. All of my ideas about it. Signs, I had my own ideas about it. I honestly thought that Abigail Breslin was going to end up having been an alien child because of her aversion to water and like the fact that she has these visions and stuff. And that's why, even though there's such a global, like cities are being targeted everywhere else, this one fucking farmhouse is being targeted.
Is because she happens. Yeah.
Because
Okay.
she's there and they want to get her back. Like
Right.
that could be the whole mission. like all those other cities are being targeted as distractions so that they can extract their one left behind child.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So then when it turns out to not be that, like, it kind of pulled me out of it, and I still liked the story that was told. That being said, I also saw another movie this weekend that did not go the way that I had planned out in my mind, and it left me angry, like feeling extremely angry.
Let's talk about this.
That film is Get Out.
Yeah, here we go. We promised you we were going to do it, and here we are. We're doing it. Promise fulfilled.
Would you like to reveal to the audience the voicemail I left you after I saw Get Out?
Oh, God. Yeah, I actually... Hold on one second. I can actually even word for word it. Give me 1 second.
That'd be fantastic. While he's doing that, let's just say you're about to see a side of me that I didn't even know existed, because I haven't been to this point in such a long time. And I was a little frightened. Like, I called Siegen primarily to say, remember, we're talking about Get Out on Monday, but also to get it down on paper the way that I was feeling. Do you have that for us, Siege?
I do. I got it right here. Now, forgive my voice to text on my I've got a Google phone, and it does this beautiful thing where it just takes all of my voicemails and just makes them text messages. So, but it has a really hard time doing it. So I'm going to read it as Google translated it, but it'll come through. It'll come through. Hey, CGI, it's Devon Becker. I was just calling because I wanted to see if you were available to do a quick little intro for this week's episode, since it's not old one, which seems a little counterproductive, as we just do whole thing, but still whatever.
This is not the one. This is another voicemail.
That's another voicemail that you sent me. Hold on, wait. Where's the one that you sent me? You know what? It's because you called me this time. It erased the old one, which is good because it was hateful.
It was real hateful. I knew that his phone could do that, so I was hoping we could run it out. Really, I was just so full of anger. I left the theater and my hands were in fists. Like, you think about American Pie, right? And as he walked up on the stage, my hands were clenched in fists of rage. Mm-hmm. That is what it was. Like, my hands were in fists, and, like, I looked down and I saw that, and I'm like, oh, what is this? Why am I that angry after watching Get Out? So, like, I tried to calm myself down, but, like, still underneath the surface was this simmering, boiling anger at what I had just experienced.
So, all right. So we got to get into this a little bit. Yeah. So let's start from the beginning on this whole thing.
Okay, so it's all spoilers. I'm not pulling punches. It's been out for 3 months.
And everybody has seen it, which is why we wanted to talk about it. So Get Out is a film by Jordan Peele of Key and Peele, and it is a psychological horror film, based on stuff like Stepford Wives. Body Snatchers is even really heavily influenced in this sort of stuff too. And so, like, he creates this film that is all about an African-American man goes to meet his white girlfriend's family in this very kind of, like, liberal, white elite town. And something really fishy is going on. There's a few African-Americans around, but they seem to be behaving really weirdly. And then it turns out that they're a bunch of psychopaths who are hypnotizing black people and replacing their souls with those of the dead ones, of the dead white people, so that they can take their bodies and use them to be young, nubile. I don't like.
Nubile was an impressive adjective there.
Yeah, like
it's not their souls; it's their brains. It's brain transplantation surgery.
Right, but what you find out through some of the weird stuff is that the brain won't be accepted by the body if essentially the soul is not partly there. So trapped within these bodies in which the brains have been put in are the, I guess you would call them, minds of the African-American people that were there before. So it's like this struggle within the body between the new white brain and the African-American soul, essentially, to, like, take the body back. And, like, we see that come through in a couple of moments, and it ends up in a really shitty situation for everyone involved.
Okay, so Deviation 1, which is deviation, but I put my name in it, is the fact that totally did not believe in any sort of spiritual soul part of it. I literally thought, based upon what was told in the film, that the brain stem had to remain there of the host, so that the motor functions and the neural stuff would work.
And I should clarify when I say soul, that's the word that I'm using. In the movie, they don't even really give it a name,
Okay.
but I guess like one of the arguments that could be made is that it's the mind versus the brain, because there is this idea that there is a piece of the old person still there and has to still be
In the
there,
sunken place.
taking that is being forced in this low level area that is referred to as the sunken place. And as long as it stays there, everything's okay. But the problem is that it's constantly fighting to come back out. And the problem, and we see in a couple of moments what happens when it comes out, and it like the body can't take it, and there's a whole bunch of freakouts. But yeah. So Devon, so keep going.
So I mean, I think that's it. Like I never really bought into that. That like that's a thing. Like and you said it's never explicit like that, but just your interpretation of it, I can understand how that would be a different way of interpreting it and enjoying the film.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, they don't ever give it a name, but there is this struggle between the body's owner and the new body's tenant, I guess is the best way to put it. Yeah, and that's one of the big, and that's part of this whole aspect of why things go wrong in the last like third of the movie. Yeah. So what else? So talk to me a little bit more about this, because for the record, I did see this movie as well this week and actually really enjoyed it. I don't know if I loved it as much as some people. I don't know. I liked it. I feel it's one of those things where so many people have talked about how good it is that I feel weird because I don't really. You all know what it is, I guess, at this point. So like I'm in. I liked it. I'm one of those people. The end.
That's
so,
good,
like,
and that's fine, and I like that. But I feel like that might also be part of the thing that like gave me the anger. I do like when the world. I love film. I love movies. I love all of that. It's something that I am very passionate about. So when a film comes out and everybody is excited about it, that makes me very happy. Like I'm not upset about it. Like I talked about indie music syndrome before, but like Get Out was never explicitly mine before. Like if I had seen it and then like years later people were talking about what a great film it was, maybe I'd have that same sort of reaction. But this is a film that jumped onto the scene and everybody was like, this is great. They don't make movies like this. Like this is what we need the future of it to be. Jordan Peele's going to be huge after this. Like, all of that is, like, that's the kind of stuff that I heard about this film. So then I go and see this film, and I'm like, no, I disagree with all of that. It just seemed very rote. You could easily tell that it was a first-time filmmaker. And again, I've never done that, so I'm not faulting the way that it is. But it's not like it came out fully formed. And that's
he's
good.
not first time. Like, he's first time on his own. But, I mean, he had just done Keanu last year and has worked in films.
Did he direct Keanu, or did he just write it?
I guess that's true. First time director, but yeah, but I mean, like, as far as like creative control goes, plus the two of them have been working on Key and Peele for years, and like, say what you will, this isn't like a guy in his backyard that had a camera and didn't know what he was doing. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly. But that's what I'm saying.
Like,
is that, like,
this is somebody that, yeah.
So,
in the terms of it feeling like it's tropey and rote, I mean, I think that comes from a couple of different places. First of all, the fact that it is a satire. Like, through and through, it is a satire of that. I don't necessarily mean that it's a comedy, but it is satirical, much in the way that, like, Scream was a satire of the horror genre, right? Like it is looking at that sort of stuff, so it has to be tropey in order for that to happen. But also, on top of that, you have to remember that stuff is tropey and rote for white stars. If you actually look at a lot of what goes on with African Americans, if it was that tropey, he would have been dead in the first 20 minutes and we never would have seen him again. You know what I mean? Like, so the fact that, like, stuff is happening.
They kind of subvert that in the first 5 minutes, which was nice. Yeah. Like the fact that, all right, well, we know that our guy's not going to die right away because we just watched somebody die.
Right. So, like, so there are tropey elements to it, but I guess for me, like, that's kind of the point of what's going on, is that he's putting all of that trope. I mean, like, that it'd be like calling anything like Shaun of the Dead tropey. Well, right, Shaun of the Dead is tropey because that's what it is. Like, so I guess, like, yeah, you're right that it is, but I knew that that's what it was going to be going in. Maybe the difference.
I think again, I feel like that might be part of the problem as well. Is that, like, I wasn't expecting it. But then again, I wasn't expecting Cabin in the Woods to be just a fucking trope factory either. And I loved that movie. Because it surprised me that it was. I hear all these people, and again, it's because I listen to the white noise, the feedback of the world, saying that, you know, it's this incredible movie. So in my head, I'm already, I try to plot whisper. I call it plot whispering. and that's trying to figure out what the movie's going to give me while it's going on, right? It's a
Yeah.
horrible way to like really try to enjoy something.
Oh, of course, especially with a movie like this where every second he knows you're doing that. Because I would say the other reason why it feels so tropey is so the moments when it's not stand out. Like, for instance, the fact that our guy makes it to the end of the movie, right? And the fact that at the end when that car pulls up and at first you think it's a cop car because in your head, knowing the tropes that you know and plot whispering like you are, you're like, of course, the cops show up and it fucks up everything and he doesn't get away. But then you realize it's his friend and they actually make it out. And you're just like, oh, I didn't expect that because everything else in this movie was leading up to that not happening. You know what I mean? And so that moment has more impact because of how tropey the rest of it is, I guess,
Yeah, I mean, I get. See,
because like there are moments where it definitely breaks tropes. Like that's the thing.
I
is
disagree.
like you're not.
That is where I disagree. That is where I disagree and where I differ, because I felt like there were all of these moments where it really could have broken, and it didn't. It did the thing that I expected. It did the thing that I didn't expect it to do because I was giving it more credit than it was due. If that makes sense.
I mean, maybe, but I think it breaks, like, for instance, the fact that the evil white people in this movie are liberals is a huge thing that actually I didn't know going into this, which I was surprised after 3 months that nobody had mentioned this to me. But, like, this isn't a town full of, like, stereotypical racists. So, like, it breaks this huge trope in its storyline by having these people being the kind of, like, endearing white people that are just trying too hard. You know what I mean? I think one review I read referred to them as the "Can I touch your hair" crowd. You know, like so that was really
description because I hated them. I was so upset when she was like, his girlfriend was still on about like, I'm still pissed about that police officer, and it's you experienced it for 5 seconds. He's lived it his whole life.
Right. So like
down.
I think maybe what part of it is that it is breaking tropes, but it's breaking tropes on a larger scale, whereas like moment to moment it is feeding into just the horror genre. And I mean, like, that just comes down to just it's a horror movie. You know what I mean? Like,
okay, so here it is. I'm gonna put it on the table because I don't know. It was the narrative that okay. We are officially agreeing in Get Out that hypnotism is real. That is a conceit that is a conceit of the film. You need to understand that in the film, right? Yeah. And I'm like, I knew from moment one that the daughter was in on it. I never thought that she was innocent because, and that was just, I felt like that was just strengthened every single time she said or did something that was, "Can I touch her hair?" Right. Because I'm like, she's trying so fucking hard that like she's blowing her cover every minute with me. Now I'm not in the movie. If I were in the movie, I would miss it, like he's missing it. But because I'm an observer, that screams out to me every single time she's trying too hard, that she's trying too hard. But then...
and keep in mind that in his world, people trying too hard, assuming that they start in the real world, right? Like that's the idea, right? Is that in his world, as is in the case with most African Americans in this country, is that that crowd exists in this world. So like dating somebody like that, there's like this element of at least she's trying. You know, it's not that big of a leap yet for me.
Right, and I understand. So I guess it's I don't experience that kind of stuff. Like I've been blessed enough to not
and
really
don't get me wrong, as somebody who has seen a horror movie before in my life, you're not wrong. Like watching her trying so hard, I too was sitting there being like, oh, something's not right with her. But that's because I'm at a movie and I recognize that. So within the world of the film, he's not an idiot. He's just dealing with people the way that he's always dealt with people because that's what the world has forced him to do. Right?
But then hypnotism exists. Hypnotism is a thing.
Right. So shows up. By the way, mom's a hypnotist. Oh, okay.
And I'm okay with it. Like, I'm like, first of all, I'm not letting this bitch hypnotize me. And the second she did hypnotize him, I would have been gone. Because, like, I told you I don't want this to happen, and then last night you hypnotized me against my will. Mm-hmm. And I really care about my mentality and who I am mentally. So, like, that would be a huge trespass against me as a person. So I didn't understand why, like, he was okay with it in any way, shape, or form. And I get it. Like, he's like, well, I'm kind of stuck here. I didn't drive up on my own. But really, I don't know. I feel like there should have been more. But the fact of the matter is, at this point, I'm like, you know what would be great, though? If the daughter is in on it, but it's against her will.
If she, too, was
hypnotized. If her mother hypnotizes her to go out and find black people, African Americans, to a certain standard for their weird little cult, right?
Yeah, right.
And she goes out and does it.
Right. Right.
And then she brings them home. And that is her job.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that would be like really cool because it speaks even further to like what they're doing, and it would explain all these cool little moments of like, oh, I forgot that was this weekend. It's like, of course you forgot it was this weekend because she was hypnotized to forget it was this weekend. Like all these like cool things, and then like when she's looking for the keys in her bag, you can clearly hear the keys, and I'm like, oh my god, the hypnotism has gone so friggin' deep that like she at this point cannot recognize the damn keys.
So you jumped to a conclusion, and you were very pissed to find out that you were wrong about it.
And then she's just like, I can't let you do that. And I'm like, fuck you, movie! I was about to give you all the credit in the world for doing something cool and different.
For me, here's the thing, is that exact same moment happened for me. There was still that moment of hope, because I don't think that you were wrong to feel that. I think that he very much builds in this idea that she might be, and it's that moment where it's like a gut punch for you. And there are moments like that in all of these type of psychological horror films, because there's always that one person that's kind of on the fence that you're kind of think about. Edgar Wright, not to keep going back to him, but he does this really good moment in Hot Fuzz, and the same thing happens with Nick Frost in that movie, where the gut punch of you realizing that he's been in on it too the whole time, and he's the friend. And so that moment was what it was really reminiscent of for me. Was all I could think of was that moment in Hot Fuzz when you find out that Nick Frost is also in the cult too, right? And it's like that kick in the stomach, because the one person that you had hope for in this situation is just completely gone. And like for me, it sucked, but that's not bad filmmaking. That's just because I, as a person, am too trusting, and like what it does is it implicates me as an audience member.
Danny is totally not part of that cult.
Well,
he's
not part of the cult.
There's all those moments.
But he's aware that the cult exists. It's not a surprise to him when he realizes what's going on. He didn't realize they were killing people, but he realizes this much. So there is a line there that isn't necessarily crossed.
But the death is the thing that that's really the problem. A bunch of old people wanting their village to continue to win Best Village, that makes sense. That's believable. It is the murdering of any fucking problem that might exist that really draws it. If he were aware of that, I would not have seen Hot Fuzz 7 times in the theater.
Well, right, exactly. It's what makes him a redeemable character, and it's what makes her irredeemable, is because she knows exactly what's going on this whole time. And I'm not saying that it's a 1-for-1, but it's that moment for sure, when you realize that they are more aware than you thought, and it sucks to find that out. Like, that's as far as I'm concerned, that's really good filmmaking, that I cared enough about that character that I care so much that they're not the protagonist that I thought they were the whole time. You know what I mean?
I just feel like it would have been just a little bit more compelling. Even if she were sort of in on it, but her mother hypnotizes her so that she can be the stupid, bubbly person that she is. And and just suppress it. Like if there were like a strike or a moment to indicate that like that fakeness is gone now you're yourself. Because the other problem is that then her characters like switch to like huge fucking evil person is so dramatic.
Well, here, how about this way? Think of it this way. Ian Holm in Alien, when you realize that he's a robot and he's been working for the
I've never seen Alien. Thanks for ruining
Are you kidding me?
No.
Okay. Well, surprise, surprise. Everybody knows the ending of that movie because the last 20 minutes of it is him as a headless robot. Anyway, but like I can't believe you've never seen Alien. But like, so that's what I mean is like that psychological horror, that turn of that character that you thought was on your side the whole time. That is just another trope. So like, I knew it was coming. And still emotionally invested in wanting her to be a good person. You know what I mean? Like there's this beautiful moment in these movies when you realize that you put a lot of faith into somebody that you shouldn't have. And like, I can see how you could easily blame that on the filmmaker and be pissed off for feeling that way. But like,
no, I mean, no, again, like I said, it's totally me about building a different narrative than what the film was going to present. And I understand that. I understand that like, I had an expectation, and that expectation was dashed, and then I was upset about it because I thought like that would be more compelling storytelling.
Yeah. But consider how he feels in that moment too, right? Like what you're feeling is probably spot on with exactly how he's feeling, except also he's about to die.
Yeah, I don't know. And also, if a dude that like I think I know freaks out and tells me to get out, I'm getting the fuck out.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going and taking a little walk, and it's like. It's just this stuff in horror movies that
Where like
happens.
why do you run upstairs when you should run out the front door situation?
Right.
Like totally. Yeah,
But like,
completely.
and I guess because this film, everything I heard was Get Out is so different and it's so good and all this stuff. Like, I didn't want to see those things because I understood that it was satire and like it really felt like a 70s horror film. Like that's exactly how I
Mm-hmm.
described it when I got home. I'm like, it's
Oh
like your
yeah.
basic 70s horror movie, which would be fine, but it just I wanted it to do something new and it never did anything new for me.
I think that the new thing, and this just speaks to, this might speak more to your character than you think, but the new thing for it is the idea that, yeah, this stuff is super tropey, but it's super tropey for white audiences looking at white stars. And what happens when you see a black person in these films, this isn't the stuff that they deal with. So his reaction, so like the trope is the same, but it's his reactions that are different. And so like his reasons for not leaving, well, I mean, that's the same question that people throw at people all the time when they're like, oh, you're in this shitty life situation. Like, as an African American, why don't you pick yourself up by your bootstraps? And it's just like, dude, because the way that the world has taught me to deal with these situations and the way that everything else in the society is set up, I can't do that. Right. So he's stuck in the situation where he needs to get out and he's being told to get out. But everything in this world has taught him to like take that moment to figure shit out first. And that sucks that he can't react like a normal person and quote unquote normal person would in those situations. And normally that's because they're stupid and stuck in a horror movie. But the bigger implication from a film like this is no, man, because as an African American in America right now, he doesn't have that option. Right. And it's like that thing where like where you ask that question, that's good because that's the exact question that you should be asking about that sort of stuff. And I think that's like the bigger part of what's going on in this film is like, yeah, he's falling into all of these tropes, but the important thing to remember is like sitting back and realizing that all of the questions that you're asking are the same questions that we ask on a larger scale all the time as white people looking at looking at an African American society and wondering why this and this isn't happening. And it's because we don't understand all of the other context that's going on. You know what I mean? And like that's one of the really interesting things about this is the way that it took these tropes that you normally see white people in, by putting a black person in that situation, how did it change things? And that's what it was for me that made it really interesting and new. Not that the things that were happening were new, but that the person in there dealing with it was a new face that I had never seen before. And like, and if that didn't click for you as you were watching it, that just means that like that's just not the level that you're thinking on, and maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's a good sign.
Yeah, I mean, like you kind of just blew my mind with the way that you interpreted the film, because like I didn't even the fact like that didn't even really enter into it for me. I don't think like that stuff. Like
Right.
It's these
Right.
people who are upset because a character is revealed as like a homosexual later on in the comic book or something, and I'm like, whatever, man. Like it's their choice, right? What
Right.
bothers me is not the fact that what North Star is gay and getting married in an X-Men comic. What bothers me is that like they're publicizing it and they're trying to be like, see, we have a gay character. It's like just have it and let it occur. Don't try to like sell books on the back of it.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's exactly the kind of racism that this movie ends up addressing with the fact that they have liberal whites as the villains. The idea that these aren't people out there looking to keep black people down, but what they don't realize is what they are doing is still in effect dehumanizing African Americans.
They have a fucking slave auction siege in.
Exactly. That's what I mean is, but in their heads they think they are not they don't think of it that way. You know what I mean? And that's the point. Is like they think they're the good people, right? Exactly. So like I could totally get walking away from this movie and feeling like that if you're not thinking on the level that this movie's like, there's a very specific level that this movie works on. And right now in this country, there's a lot of people on that level, which is why I think it did as well as it did. If this movie had come out 10 years ago, or if it came out 10 years from now, I don't know if it would have hit as hard. It still would have been just as important, I think, but I just don't think as many people would have latched onto it like they did. Timing was key, and I think that
totally key. 2017 has been a fucking shitstorm for films,
right? And so I think that in another way, that's another place where you have to kind of give Jordan Peele some credit. Like he played his cards exactly right, making this movie the way that he did when he did. And I don't think that he would have even bothered to make this movie in this way if it was not this time, you
I
know?
also don't think, like, just to be the cynical asshole, I don't think he would have gotten the funding to make this
No.
type of movie in
I don't
any other
I don't think that's
environment
cynical
either.
at all. I think you're totally right. I think you're totally right that he would not have had the backing to do this sort of thing if it wasn't for the environment right now, which is a shitty situation that it takes of an environment like this for a black filmmaker to be able to do what he did. Because I mean, like, he now is the most successful like opening for a black filmmaker in American film history. Like, that's just, he's going to be able to hold that title, and probably for a long time, because the way that Hollywood kind of sucks, you know. But like, there's a lot of really interesting things going on with this film, and I'm happy it exists. Like, I can at least for sure 100% say that I am super happy it exists. That said, I also enjoyed my time with it too. So
Yeah, and that's good. And again, like, I know that it's totally my own stuff that got in my way. And again, like, I'm not upset that I saw it. I guess I'm upset at the reaction that I've been seeing
yeah.
from people.
Well, and you're also a person that sees, and you know, this is true for me as well, is that we see a lot of other smaller films from independent filmmakers. So the stuff that also is not new to you might actually be new to somebody that doesn't go out to horror films much. You know, if all they're seeing is Saw, and then they go and see this, I mean, even the fact that we saw 10 Cloverfield Lane puts us in a very small club, you know? Like,
Yeah, that's a good point. You bring up good, and same with, like, It Follows. Like, everybody was all
mhm,
crazy about It Follows, and I'm like, it was good, but like,
yeah.
it didn't reinvent the horror genre. Like, why is this the one that Sunshine has shown upon and is getting to grow higher than anything
because
else?
because I think that the thing like It Follows is it dilutes and kind of perfects it in certain ways, not in all ways, but in certain ways. So that's why they hit like they do. Is people are basically like, I know you don't see scary movies often, but if you're going to see one, see this one, and then the movie becomes super successful. You know, I think The Witch was like that last year
I loved The Witch until the. I think my
until the
problem
end.
with these films is I really love the first two acts, and then once they get to the third act, I'm
Hmm.
just like, okay, and now here's all the stuff that has to happen. Here's all the things that like, in
Yeah.
order for it to be a horror film, we need to make sure that this box is checked and this box is checked.
Well, and
Because
that's what makes movies like The Orphanage and Pan's Labyrinth like really unique in the way that they use horror but don't put themselves in a box, so they don't have to do those kinds of things in the last third act. So their third acts become something very different. I'm trying to think of any kind of American film
so yeah,
that's kind of
that right there is it. First of all, I am taking the moment right now to say to you, thank you for taking me to go see The Orphanage.
hmm
Thank you for that, because that was not a movie that was on my radar at all. Like,
yeah.
Pan's Labyrinth is one that I rushed out and saw. I loved Pan's Labyrinth. I ate a large cheesesteak sandwich from Quiznos as I enjoyed it. And everyone around me was disappointed because they did not have sandwiches and they did not know it was going to be subtitled. And I'm just sitting there enjoying reading
Really
my movie, eating a sandwich.
nice.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, The
that was
Orphanage.
like one
Oh,
of
you
those
know, a good
movies that
example of this is Mama from a couple of years ago. I'm mentioning all things that Guillermo del Toro has either directed or at least
I know,
produced,
right? Like, I'm
and
like,
I
can you think of?
like.
Can we mention someone else? But I
Well,
can't
no,
think of any that.
because the problem is that he's one of the few horror filmmakers right now trying to do anything different because of what you're talking about. You know what I mean? Like he's one of the few people out there successfully making these kinds of movies that don't follow these formulas. And like and that's super unfortunate on one hand, but also like I don't think that I don't think that Get Out or even It Follows or even The Witch would have worked for me if I didn't go in as an audience member expecting certain things from formulas and then seeing how they were either used or bended. Were you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Bended.
bent. Well, and I think that's where it really gets to me is like The Witch became like this really great period piece for me.
Yeah.
So I started to enjoy it on a different level than what I expected to be enjoying it on. Like, I thought it was going to be, your basic sort of horror movie, and then I'm like, oh, this is very interesting. Like, the real horror is having to live away from fucking society in colonial times. Like, the fact that these people didn't hew to their community and now they have to, like, survive out on the plains, like, that's scary. That's scarier to me than anything else you could do. And then, like, it kicks into the third act, and I'm like, and then you just, like, kind of take it all away and make it some supernatural bullshit. Like,
Yeah, answers. I mean, as humans, and this is like a conundrum that every television show since the beginning of time has faced, right? Is like, as humans, we love mystery and we hate solving those mysteries because it means that the mystery's over, and it means that things that we thought might be true are either proven wrong or proven right, but not in the ways we wanted. I mean, that's that. Like, look at the ending of Lost and how pissed off people were about like where that went. But it's just like, hey, it had to end somehow, right? And that's the same thing, kind of what we were getting into with Stephen King earlier to bring things back around. But like a few weeks ago when we were talking about Stephen King, is like kind of gets to a point where it just takes it a little too far, and it's just like, man, I really loved wallowing in the what if, and now that I know what, it's not nearly as exciting as half the shit in my head, you know?
yeah, and again, like, you need to be big enough to admit that, like, you're part of the problem with that.
Yeah.
and I feel good that I can do that. Like, I feel happy that I can, like, say I didn't enjoy Get Out, but I know that I'm part of the reason I didn't enjoy Get Out.
Right. And like, and allow me to kind of double speak on this a little bit too, is that like, as a good filmmaker, I believe you should be aware that your audience is going to go in with that whole thing going on. So like, how you work with that, and it's a constant back and forth between the filmmaker and the audience member to like make that stuff work. And like I said, it's, you know, figuring out when to go with what your audience is expecting and when to break what they're expecting. And so for me, something like Get Out really worked because he knew what I was expecting, read me really well, gave me what I wanted when I needed it, but then didn't give me what I wanted when I knew that I needed it, you know? And like, maybe that's just, maybe the conversation you were having at that moment just wasn't the same conversation I was, right? And so it doesn't work for you in the same way.
Yeah, no, and that's true. Like,
and that's on the filmmaker. That's not on me as an audience member.
Yeah, exactly. And I can't. And again, I can't. It's just that like it tumbled into place in a way that, I mean, of course, in I've seen movies, so I'm thinking of all these different ways that it could play out, and it tumbled into place in the way that was like least satisfying for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, think of it like a pachinko machine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the balls are going down, right? And I'm like, I know that there's a certain place that it can land here in this machine. And I want it to land here. I want to get the jackpot. I want to win. And so when it lands in the 0 or the 10 spot, I'm just like, oh, okay, well, why did I bother playing?
Then Drew Carey gives you a pat on the back and you get to go away with at least your face on TV.
Yeah, right? And I don't have to pay the taxes on my prizes.
Yeah.
Because that's really what screws you on The Price is Right.
Oh, man.
Wow,
so
that really just slid in. I can't believe that we got from there to there. So yeah, I mean, go see Get Out if you still haven't seen it. I don't think we ruined it as nearly as much as anything else could have. So,
no, I mean, at this point, you either are aware of what that movie was or you're not listening to us. You know what I mean?
There's two types of people in this world: people who know what Get Out is and people who don't listen to the Say Report.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Oh,
perfect.
Man.
But yeah, that's it. Do you have anything else to add?
No. I've been doing some fun TV watching for this week, but I think we should save some of that for next week because there's some television shows that we got to talk about.
There's some television shows that I would like to finish before we get to talking about.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be completely honest with you.
Yeah, we should do that first. But it is end of TV season and like all of the renews and cancels are up, so we should we're gonna take a look at that for next week, I think.
Yeah, so you have that to look forward to: TV cancellations, renewals, and we'll like probably deep dive into some of the finales, right? Like.
Mm-hmm. And some of the stuff that nobody's talking about that we really like. I think that that's also an important thing that we should, because there's the biggins that everybody wants to know what got canceled, what's coming back, and then there's the stuff that this time of year is starting to come out that nobody's paying attention to, and those end up being some of my favorite shows.
No, and then unfortunately they become the world's favorite shows, and then their third season is all live episodes, and it really becomes unfocused, and then people are surprised when Undateable gets canceled.
Nobody was surprised except you.
No, actually, I'm not. Dale was the one who was surprised. She was very upset when she's like, I can't believe they didn't get a fourth season. I'm like, did you watch the live episodes? Like, it used to be a very story-driven show, and then it became to, I want the spotlight.
And then it became a giant SNL sketch for every week. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is a shame,
and as we've
it
seen,
was a good show.
And as we've seen on every SNL season, any sketch that goes on longer than 5 minutes is not worth it.
And scene. That was good, Siege. I was proud of that joke, viewers. All right. So until next time, I'm Devon Decker.
I'm Siege Sarwick.
And now, enjoy some special bonus content.
Ooh.
It's quiz time, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening to the episode. Now it's time for a quiz. And joining myself, Devon Decker, and Stephen Sarwick for this quiz, ladies and gentlemen, you know him from our outro. Big round of applause for William Fournier!
Good evening, everybody, or good afternoon, good morning, whenever you're listening to the podcast. It's morning for me. I believe it's evening for you guys. Okay, so we'll go with a good afternoon to make it fair.
Yeah, to prove that this is not like us just splicing in recordings of you done in advance, to prove that this is actually live and we're talking to you. What can we ask him, Devon? We have to ask him a question.
You know what? Before we ask him a question, Sejin,
what time is it? Tell us what time it is. No, wait, that doesn't work.
I don't think anybody
exactly
would have
9:15.
if we had patched him in until you introduced that into their minds.
I will use this time to confirm that mermaids do live in Australia.
Okay.
As that is where I am right now, as a little callback to the Kesha report of previously recorded, released last week. I can confirm mermaids are rife in Australia.
Well, the thing is that people don't realize is that that's actually how Devon and I do the whole podcast. I record my half, and he records his half, and then we splice together what works. So,
very clever editing. I knew you guys were good, but
we spend about 2 hours recording and about 30 hours editing.
Yeah, no one knew until just now. Welcome behind the
curtain. You've ruined the mystery of the Say report.
I'm sorry, I'm wasting our time. What are we doing?
But anyway, I have come together with some quizzes for the incredible Brendan Fraser History Month.
Yeah.
We have a couple to go through. The first one will be consisted purely of Brendan Fraser internet conspiracies that I have found. I will be giving you brief ideas of the conspiracy, and I'd like the answer to the question following the conspiracy.
Holy shit!
The second will be an incredible look at the crazy hot women who've dated him in films but never would in real life, in a Who Am I style, where we have 4 to 5 little facts about each woman, and you have to work out who they are from the facts.
All right. Okay.
This is what happens when we get a British guy to give us a quiz. Proper quizzes. Yeah. None of that also, Alex Trebek, I have the answers on the card, but I'll still act superior bullshit.
Yeah.
No. I might have the odd little patronizing, oh, come on, guys, you must have known that.
Yeah, but you did the research. Alex Trebek doesn't write the questions. Or maybe he does.
I will take that one tick above Alex Trebek that maybe he doesn't write questions.
He doesn't have time
we
for
may
that.
Never know.
He's got a mustache to shave off and then regrow and then shave off and upset me.
Busy life when you can't grow facial hair and somebody like that has a wonderful mustache. I understand the fear and pain.
What are we doing?
Where would you like to start? Which one should we start with, guys?
I'd like to start with the conspiracy one, because honestly, I've been celebrating Brendan Fraser History Month for 2 whole years, and I didn't realize how much of an internet pariah he actually is. So,
apparently everyone hates him, which is terrible. But we're going to see. Not all these conspiracies are bad. Some of them are just weird, random little facts that appear about him.
Okay.
So we will start with, there is a question number 1. If you're both ready with your pens and papers,
I am.
Absolutely. There is apparently an ongoing conspiracy across all of Hollywood that everyone is slightly related, and/or certain children and child stars were brothers but pretended not to be, or whatever else. Which famous pair of twins?
I'm sorry. Wait a minute. This is a larger thing that people actually believe.
Apparently this is a massive conspiracy.
Okay.
The new royal family lives in Hollywood.
Okay.
Yet there's plenty of pages devoted to this. If you would like to spend hours of your life,
I want to see the bloodline that connects Ice Cube to Tom Cruise. But anyway, let's do this.
It'll be there. His body goes through Nicole Kidman somewhere. But okay, there is a famous conspiracy apparently about Brendan that he is the third, or the triplet, of a very famous set of twins who are famous in Hollywood. Who are the twins he is apparently the triplet of?
Oh, man. We're not going to get options. We have to just kind of pull one out of our ass.
Yeah, I think that's much more fun.
It's a British guy doing the quiz, Sejin.
Oh, God. Oh, shit. All right. I'm just going to write down anything now, I guess.
Even someone has even got photos of them morphing into each other to show how much they look alike. Yeah. They even age the same, apparently.
I don't know. I'm writing down everything I can think of right now. Anyway, okay, I'm good. I got an answer.
Got it. I have the right answer to number 1.
Well, that is A bold claim straight away. Okay, conspiracy number 2. And apparently one of the reasons that Hollywood dumped Brendan Fraser from its books. He sustained an injury to his back whilst working in his back garden in 2005. But what was he doing in his back garden to sustain the injury?
Okay.
All right.
I got an answer down myself.
I am not super happy about that one, but I got to write one of my favorite words, so...
Okay.
That is all we can ask for when you are writing down words. The other reason, apparently, that Hollywood dumped Brendan Fraser was that he got addicted to drugs and drink. And recently, a photo was passed around Twitter and Instagram and a lot of other social medias showing what apparently Brendan Fraser looks like now. Compared to his usual youthful, wonderful that we know, what major feature changes did he have to show his drink and drug abuse?
Oh, man. Well, I'm just going to think of, like, what the worst ones of those types of photos look like are. I mean, there's tons of that stuff. Like Kim Kardashian with, like, no hair and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, it's on those. It's towards those lines of ridiculousness.
Sejin, you have no hair. Are you on drugs?
Yeah, that's what it is, man. I've done so much coke.
As 2 of us currently right now have no hair, I think you're the weird one, Devon.
Yeah, Devon.
I specifically did not lord my luscious head of hair over you guys.
I don't know. You suggested we were using drugs, and
Exactly.
not even like Rogaine.
Yeah, you did it by bringing it up.
Sejin was using drugs. It's called Bream.
I just shave. It's not nothing else. I just shave my head.
Oh, no, this is all natural, buddy. Yeah.
I use a Bic and everything, so it looks like I meant to.
I'm ready for 4.
Okay, and the final conspiracy of Brendan Fraser. There is a lot of gay rumors surrounding him because he's apparently never held down a girlfriend and never got married and all these things. But the main gay rumors came just after Dead Poets Society. But from conversations and notes with whom did these gay rumors come from? So somebody apparently released their notes and conversations they'd had with Brendan Fraser. And this is why everyone thinks he's gay.
Wow. What a crazy question.
I will give it. It's not like a famous person that was keeping notes of their conversations. That would be weird.
Oh, it wasn't a famous person.
No, it was somebody in Brendan's life.
Not Ethan Hawke, then. Got it.
Hurtful,
No,
truthful things.
Unless Ethan Hawke has a secondary career that we don't know about, it wasn't Ethan Hawke.
Well, let's see how we
Okay.
did.
Do we have answers to all of those?
I think so. I've got 4 answers to 4 questions. Is that what we got?
I wrote down 4 answers to 4 questions, and I'm only
Written down
confident
something?
about one.
Excellent. Okay, well, let's start with the one that you were confident about, Devon. The twins
How does
here
that
is
feel,
about
Devon?
Triptych. Who do we have written down?
Is it Jason and Jeremy London?
It is absolutely Jason and Jeremy London.
Oh, man. I wrote down the Sklar brothers, the Lucas brothers. Then the one that I finally decided on was the Olsen twins. I was decided he was the third Olsen.
I initially wrote
all
down.
the Wachowskis.
That would have been good. But yeah, I had Olsen down, and then I'm like, no, like, think about it. Who does he really look like? And I'm like, it's the London twins.
I was actually, as you said, Jeremy and Jason London, I was thinking the O'Connell brothers, but no. But London's. Very nice poll, Devon. Very nice.
No, there is a series of photos, if you want to look at them at different ages throughout their life, and apparently how they are aging the same, and their jawline is identical, and apparently all these genetic markers that someone's made up.
This is terrifying.
Dude,
all right,
I
so
100% believe it, because freaking Jason London, or was it Jeremy, was in Mallrats with Ben Affleck, who years earlier had been in School Ties with Brendan Fraser. I see how this rabbit hole is formed, and I support it.
So obviously that means
Google
they're all
does.
blood related. I don't.
So therefore, because they've both met Ben Affleck, so, and he's the
Ben
kingpin.
Affleck is the primordial
Hollywood.
ooze of Hollywood.
I don't know if he'd like it, but that is one way to describe Ben Affleck.
Primordial ooze. I think that's Casey Affleck.
No, Casey
Number 2.
Affleck's
Controversial.
what crawled out of it.
Nice.
There we go. All right, conspiracy number 2. He hurt his back whilst in his garden, causing Hollywood to dump him because he couldn't work. What was he doing in 2005?
I put burying the body. I don't know whose body, but burying
the body. The person who had the gay rumors.
Yeah, there you go.
I
don't know.
put building a gazebo.
No, he was actually cutting a tree up with a chainsaw after Hurricane Katrina.
Wow.
I'm sorry, and this somehow led to him being blacklisted in Hollywood because he was cutting a tree up with a chainsaw?
He was, because he has a house in New Orleans, and he was clearing his backyard after Katrina and hurt his back and therefore couldn't work, so apparently Hollywood kicked him out.
Take that.
Great conspiracy.
So much for nepotism
you
in Hollywood.
Yeah, first FEMA doesn't come in to help.
You and your stressful life. And his twins brothers were nowhere nearby. I mean,
yeah, a lot of help they were. But I mean, honestly, what have the Londons really done in the last 10 years? So
apparently one of them's an angry drunk. It says so here.
All right. So now, what's wrong with Brendan Fraser's face? Tell us what's wrong with Fraser's face.
It is one of the most amazing photos I've ever seen. And if you guys would put it out on your Twitter afterwards, it's great. He has, after he's drink and drugs abuse, he has really, really bloodshot red eyes, like to the point that he could be wearing red eyeshadow around his whole face.
Gross.
Incredible bleach blonde hair that is missing in places and has put on about 30 pounds. It's absolutely brilliant. I don't know who made them, but if it's real, great.
Do I get points for putting bald? I put bald.
I do. Do I want the same points if he gets them? Because I have bald head, sallow cheeks, and lost teeth.
He does apparently have all his teeth.
What you described is basically Gollum.
Yeah. Let's have a point each, because he does have, although his hair is blonde, it is thinning.
Okay. Good. Excellent. So you're beating me by one right now, Devon, so here we go. Number 4.
The final one, from whom did notes and conversations that his gay rumors came out from? What have we got written down? Devon,
what did you put?
I wrote Brendan's then girlfriend.
I put gay lover, so I think we both went down the same route, but for two different reasons.
I would say it was much more against the world than that. It was actually his psychiatrist.
Oh, God.
What a fucker!
Claims that apparently that is the official source of the Brendan Fraser gay rumors was his psychiatrist at the time.
So his gay lover still works then?
They could be one and the same. Yes. It could also be Ethan Hawke. We don't know.
Who could be a psychiatrist? I mean, Ethan Hawke has done a ton of roles over the years, so he could have easily been.
The same therapist as Brian Wilson? What monster releases that information?
Exactly. Also, just for the record, Ethan Hawke wasn't in Mission Impossible.
Oh no, Ethan Hunt was.
Yes, he was. Another callback for you there.
I know for a fact that has bothered Will ever since I said it.
Because we discussed Actually, I sent you a voice note, in fact, about the fact that Mission Impossible 2 isn't the worst one.
Oh, really?
But purely only because it has one of the greatest lines when Ethan Hunt has killed the South African guy and tied him up and put a wonderful face mask on him to pretend to be him.
Right.
And he throws him on the floor and he's mumbling before he gets shot. And in his brilliant South African, he goes, "Stop mumbling." It's just a great line.
Sure. You know what? That one line, maybe I will overlook all of the other glaring plot holes in Mission Impossible.
It's almost onomatopoetic in the way in which he says it, because he says "stop mumbling," but he says it through gritted teeth and like his lips not moving. Right? Yeah.
Angry over, and then it's followed by his wonderful henchman going, "I think I broke his jaw."
I think I broke his jaw.
That's bit, and that's all you need. And then he says, "This is what's known as getting your gun off," which is a terrible follow-up line, but you know.
Yeah, I don't know. That whole moment actually freaks me the fuck out. It's like one of the darkest Ethan Hunt moments in the entire series when he just basically condemns a dude to death.
That's why J.J. Abrams, of all people, went lighter in the sequel.
Yeah, right.
Yes, he did. Yeah, 3 had to be a little bit more upbeat.
Well, that was awesome.
That was awesome.
That was the conspiracy quiz.
Thank you for listening to the Say Report with your host Devon Decker and Stephen Serwick. Please follow the guys on Twitter and Facebook by searching for The Say Report, and you can always subscribe on your podcast channel so this is delivered straight to you and you can enjoy it every week. With apologies to your mother, we'll see you next time.